You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Nathan, it's June. Do you know what that means?
Yes, it's Pride Month.
This month, we're going to be sharing stories of amazing people in history, especially those from the LGBTQ community. We're going to be rerunning some old episodes. And today, we are looking back at the life of Christina of Sweden in our second episode on her from 2021.
So enjoy.
Cheers, bitches. Oh, and hey, Nathan, do we say the F word on this a lot?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, we do.
Oh.
So if you don't like that, don't listen. Cheers, bitches. Hi, this is Katie.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about badass women in history. Hey, Nathan.
What's up, Katie?
Oh my gosh, we are back for Christina of Sweden, part 2.
Part 2. So if you didn't listen to episode 1, you might want to circle back to that and listen to that, because you'll be real lost if you don't listen to that one.
100%.
So when we last left Christina, she was just about to have her coronation.
Finally.
Yes, if you remember, Christina had actually hit her 18th birthday about 5 years before.
Right, and they had just been putting it off because Sweden was at war and her Regency Council kept holding off the coronation. So that also kind of left her, she really wasn't officially in charge until after the coronation. It kind of fucking sucked, that they kept putting it off.
So Christina went behind the backs of her advisors and tried to make peace in a war called a war.
A war?
What are you doing? War. So, in a war called the 30 Years' War. So now she can be crowned queen officially.
Though we have to remember, she has actually been queen since she was 6. And now she's finally getting her coronation when she's 25 or something like that. She's a grown-ass woman, and she's finally getting her coronation. So you're all cut up from last week's episode.
Can we talk about this coronation, please?
Oh my god, I love a bougie coronation. We've seen several on this show, and this one is no exception. It is over the top, is fancy. She's been waiting 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, if I had 5 years to plan my own coronation, it would be extravaganza.
Yes. Well, yeah. It is described as the most lavish coronation in Swedish history.
I love this for her.
I love it for her, too. She arrives to the palace they're having it at in this carriage that's just decked out in jewels, decked out in tapestries. It's pulled by 3 white horses that are also decked out in jewels.
Oh my god. So she steps out of her carriage and she's wearing a custom-made velvet robe designed in the belly. And it's black and gold and crowns embroidered all over it with flames. Oh my god.
I saw a recreation of it online. It's just it was some fancy fucking shit. One thing that I love, the palace where she had the coronation and they were having 3 days of partying afterwards, she replaced the water in the fountains at the palace with wine.
Oh my god. Katie and Nathan would be at that party.
Oh my god.
Sitting next to the fountain,
we're just
hey guys, this fountain has wine.
We gotta get one of these back in the house.
Christina,
good choice. Honestly, I think she would have loved us.
I think so. Either way, it was a big fucking deal. This whole get together.
It was huge. And her mother was invited. Which, again, you need to revisit the first episode if you don't know why that's like, they had a tense relationship. But Mom was there, and it doesn't seem like Mom started any drama, but because everything I read noted that Mom was there and people were nervous about Mom being there, leads me to believe that they thought she might. Like, everyone was nervous that she might start drama.
Yeah, maybe this is where Christina got a little bit of her flair for the drama.
Oh, maybe.
And I think that's kind of Mom's end of the story at this point.
Right.
Which is probably a relief to Christina.
Right.
Because she's like, oh, God, just go back to Brandenburg or Brussels wherever the hell she went.
Yeah. Mama was like, I just want to go back to Germany. And Christina was like, that works. That's probably for the best. Her hometown, like, wouldn't take her back unless Christina was gonna, like, pay for her, like, give her a pension. Christina was like, yeah, here's some money. Bye.
Bye. So Christina looks around and she's like, I got goals for Sweden. So her dad had really changed how Europe had seen Sweden at this point.
But for him, they were kind of more considered backwoods.
Yeah.
He kind of made them, because of his military conquest, play your own chessboard now.
Yeah, and he wanted to really establish a name and keep building on that. So he made Stockholm as the city of education, which it kind of still is today.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about Stockholm because...
Well, Sweden's got a great education system.
Fantastic. Love this for them. I just know that it's supposed to be very cold there, which we will talk about somebody later who I very much identify with. Being like, oh, Sweden sounds cold. Right, Christina, she wants to keep building on that. So, they've made a name for themselves, and she wants to bring more culture. Like, she wants to make it a hub for philosophy, poetry, theater. She wants not to just be a major player in war. She wants to be a major player in the arts in Stockholm.
Finally, a bitch after my own heart.
Yes, which we love. But a lot of people in the country were like, I mean, that's cool, but it didn't seem to be a goal that resonated with anybody in, like, her council or really any of the taxpayers.
Yeah,
either.
They're basically just like, hey, so when are you going to have babies?
When are you going to have babies? She was just basically like, why are you so obsessed with my uterus, Sweden?
Her Swedish poussoir is her own.
It is my own poussoir.
Leave my poussoir alone. Punch. So, to appease people, and in hopes that they would leave her alone, she appoints her cousin, Carl Gustav, as heir. But then, of course, everyone starts to speculate, you're fucking your cousin?
You're gonna get married to your cousin? Which, I mean, unless you're brand new to Queen's podcast, that them being cousins that was not an issue. That was not an issue.
I think it's our old statement, if you aren't fucking your cousin, are you really royalty?
Are you even royalty? You're not fucking your cousin.
I mean, they're like, basically, they're half first cousin?
Yeah, so her aunt, Catherine, who we spoke about in the first episode, who basically was the only maternal figure that she knew. Her Aunt Catherine was actually her dad's half-sister. So it's her half first cousin.
Oh, so you have your first cousins,
and then you have
your half first cousins, and then you have your second first cousins, half cousins, right?
Like, yeah, but he's my first cousin. Yeah, exactly. It's a Mean Girls reference if for our younger viewers. Me and Nathan, we went and saw Mean Girls in the theater together.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. When we were 5.
I know, right?
We were literally 5 years old. Don't look it up.
So Gustav and Christina had been raised together. So I think Christina was just like, look, I know he's a smart dude. He's a good guy. He knows that Christina's not going to marry him because
Ew. Men.
So now you're my heir, and like everybody's happy.
I've appointed my heir. I'm saying, like, in case I never have children, but she knows she never wants to have children. Mm-hmm. So she's like, he's my heir. Everyone's happy. Except for Axel. You remember the Axel guy?
Oh, God. This drama.
He's still Christina's main advisor, and he is over her going against tradition. Like, the two of these two people are just, like, really butting heads at this point. He's done with her refusing to marry, maybe having a girlfriend, publicly declaring that she didn't want children, naming her cousin as an heir. He is just over her bullshit. And she's over his, too.
Yeah,
you know?
they're button heads big time. So, heading back to her scholarly issues, Christina wants to build a university and a theater.
Love it. Love
know.
this.
So, about 4 years before she had a correspondence with Rene Descartes, maybe you've heard of him.
Yes.
A quick summary of who he is. He was a famous French philosopher, scientist, and mathematician.
And he was also, like, a super duper Catholic.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but, like, in case you don't remember from the first episode, Sweden was staunch not about the Pope. They were super Lutheran. And that's what the whole 30 Years' War was, a war of religion, more or less. So, like, her having a correspondence with somebody with such a hard Catholic leaning was, in the eyes of her people and advisors, a problem.
Yeah, and she had been asking Descartes to, like, come out to Stockholm for years and years. And he was like, why? Why would I?
Why? Yeah.
So Sweden and France have been fighting forever, and the Swedish people weren't super chill about Catholics.
Yeah.
So he's like, it's
like,
a trap.
Yeah, I could see while the 30 Years' War was still going on, like, hot and heavy before this, I could also see, like, why? So I can come out there and you can hold me hostage or something?
Doesn't
like,
sound fun to me, Stockholm Syndrome.
Anyway. Oh, boy. Nathan got the jokes.
And also he was like, okay, bro, this place is straight up cold.
And you know what? As a Texan, can relate. Like I was just saying earlier, like one of the only things I really know about Sweden is it's cold.
Is she cold?
It's cold, yeah.
But now that, Christina is officially crowned, she's like, no, Descartes, look, I want you to come out here, help me open this university because my council's a bunch of bag of dicks.
Yes.
They don't want to help me.
Yes.
They just want to bitch at me for not getting married and not putting a baby in my uterus.
Right. And it's also possible that what really made him eventually decide to come out is that she was like probably on the DL telling him, I want to learn more about Catholicism. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in, I was raised being like super anti-Catholic. So I don't have anybody here in Stockholm that can tell me about it without it already having like a negative slant to it.
So do you think that she really wanted to know about Catholicism, or was this like a ploy to get him out there?
Yes.
Okay, that's a very...
I think it was. I do think she wanted to learn about Catholicism. It's human nature. Things that are kept from you, you want to learn more about,
I agree.
But also, I think that probably helped him come out. And so, I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Christina sent the ship to go pick up Descartes. He's coming out to Sweden, and he brought 200 books, which I love this.
I love that. Honestly, I was surprised it wasn't a little bit more.
I know, right?
Because he's
Are you
fucking
really that
philosopher.
smart? Yeah.
And it's not like they had the internet. It's not like he had a Kindle where he could store a bunch of books on or anything. I thought he was going to have more books, honestly. But maybe she was like, 200 is your limit, and what you can't bring, I can find for you here.
Right. Maybe there was a deal there.
Yeah.
But there was a deal there. They started working together. It seems like the two, they probably butted heads a few times, but they've got their eyes on the prize. They want to open up this university and get shit going.
And also, maybe we should just make the disclaimer that Christina is gonna butt heads with everybody with everybody.
Period.
If she respects them, if she doesn't respect them, I love her. She is a bit of a contrarian, and she is never gonna be like, oh, I respect you, so I'm just gonna assume your opinion is right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's always gonna ask a bunch of questions, and you know what? unsurprisingly, men in the 17th century didn't love women that asked a lot of questions.
Oh, they still don't like women that ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
It's literally dialogue.
But I just wonder maybe if that's one of the reasons that she butted heads with everybody so much.
Because she asked so many questions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who cares?
Oh,
She's the
she
fucking
didn't
queen.
fucking care.
She's a fucking queen.
She didn't fucking care if you didn't like her. She did not give a shit if you didn't like her.
So Christina arranged for Descartes to give her lessons on philosophy and maybe religion, like 12 times a week. And these lessons would start at 5 a.m.
In the winter.
In the winter. Okay, Katie, you're kind of an early riser to begin with. So 5 a.m. if somebody was like, I need you to do this for a couple months, you'd be like, cool, fine.
Yeah.
Me, I'd be like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
But Katie cannot handle cold weather.
No. I'd be like, well, you can come to me, but this was normal. Christina had been keeping this schedule of starting her days by 5 a.m. for years. Like I said, she's in her mid-20s now, and she started really getting responsibilities when she was 18, and she took those responsibilities seriously. So the 5 a.m. and then work until bedtime was her normal schedule. And she thought anyone that batted an eye at that, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just get up at 5 a.m. Who the fuck cares?
It's easy.
It's easy. Just get up. But I guess she didn't consider that workload, getting up that early and working that long, wasn't for everybody. And Descartes was older too. And he just wasn't built for that. And he caught pneumonia and died really soon after they started working together.
Hey, that's not good at all, because this was a huge setback for Christina's ideas to build this school. She wanted all these scholars from all around the world to come to Stockholm.
Exactly. He was like the reason people were going to come.
The bait.
Yes,
basically.
yes. And now that she's gone, like you said, huge setback.
Yeah, and she didn't really, I don't think, really grieved him. She just didn't know him that long to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure she was bummed.
Yeah. And she probably learned a lot from him. But since he was a Catholic in a Protestant nation...
This is pretty fucked up, I think.
Yeah. Since he was a Catholic in a Protestant nation, they buried him in a graveyard usually used for unbaptized orphans.
I have several questions about that. First of all, what the fuck?
Yeah,
is the first question.
Come on,
why did they have a graveyard for orphans that was different than that?
They were unbaptized. I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's not their fault. They're orphaned.
I know. You know what? I don't know a whole lot of children that can go baptize themselves so they can get buried. They just so fucking cold-hearted. I couldn't find anything about Christina, if she had anything to do with the choice to baptize him, or I'm sorry, to bury him, like, in a disrespectful manner. For his
pretty disrespectful.
For his accomplishments and what he meant to her, it was kind of disrespectful. So I, in my opinion, think that she probably wasn't all about his final resting place. But 15 years later, France did petition to have his remains sent back.
Good for you, France.
And he was sent back to France to be buried, I guess, in a Catholic cemetery. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, well, probably. Yeah. So this partnership obviously short-lived, and it did something in Christina's mind. At this point, the flip switches.
Yeah.
She's like, I am not about that Protestant life anymore.
She'd been dipping her toe in the papal ocean. And now she's just like, I am ready to dive in. And I have to guess that she wasn't being quiet about it, because everybody that was important in the council and stuff knew that she...
I don't think she was a very quiet...
I don't think she was very...
individual.
I don't think she was very quiet about anything. Yeah.
Let's be real.
Point taken.
So, part of the treaty in the 30s-year war was that whatever religion the ruler of a country is, that's the religion of all the citizens of that country. Mm-hmm. The people underneath her do not want to be Catholic.
No, that they've just been in this long war where everybody's been affected and has either lost a son or a father or a husband or something, fighting over the rights for them to remain Protestant.
Keep in mind, people have been fighting over being Catholic and Protestant for how many hundreds of years at this point?
Oh, God. And so, obviously, her even floating the idea to the Swedish people of, we Catholic now, was never going to happen.
No, but she had her mind totally set on it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that she had any interest in starting a civil war in her country.
Right, exactly.
So it was likely around this time that she started floating the idea of abdicating. Sorry, it's very hard to say as a queen myself.
Let's put a pin in the A word. Let's circle back to her romance with Ebba. Remember Ebba?
Oh, I love this. Her bedfellow.
Yeah. So she was most likely lovers with her lady-in-waiting, Ebba Spar. And she started calling her the Countess Belle, which meant the beautiful countess. So Ebba had been engaged for a long time to one of Axel's relatives.
Yeah, and Christina was like, nope, 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 whole lot of nope.
Whole lot of nope.
And can't have you married into this family because then that could turn all against me at this point.
Right.
So she had her family break off this engagement and had her married to another man that Christina felt she had more power over. Yeah.
For a while. So speaking of that nervous breakdown that we discussed earlier, it is believed Christina did suffer. It's impossible to classify it as a nervous breakdown 300 years later or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a nervous breakdown going to the grocery store.
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit more serious than that.
You have a nervous breakdown over losing your phone.
Oh, God. I hope none of you ever have to be around me when I cannot locate my phone. It is life or death. But no, this was serious. Some people have also said maybe it was a nervous breakdown. Maybe it was burnout. Remember, she's been doing these like 13-hour days for the last 10 years.
I would be done.
I have to imagine there was a lot going through her head. Basically, everything she believed in conflicted with what the people of her country wanted.
True.
Her views on marriage and childbirth, she was constantly being asked super private questions about her uterus.
Yeah. She's also, her religion,
Yeah.
she switched from Protestant to Catholic, so that's a big deal.
Her whole thing about like wanting all her goals of like education and the arts in Stockholm aren't really materializing, which had to have been frustrating. And yeah, her council and her people just weren't seeing her vision that she was so passionate about.
Yeah, and you also have to see that her mother, we have to talk genetics, her mother was mentally unstable as well.
Yeah.
So this could be a genetic thing that she's predisposed to quote-unquote melancholy, which could be classified as depression, anxiety.
And we've seen other historical figures have like mental instabilities laying low until they hit their late to mid-20s. So that could also be the same thing happening here. Maybe something just, though I don't want to compare her to Caligula, which is the first example I think of that, because she definitely wasn't that bad. But do you know what I mean? Like, There's a lot of factors there. The only silver lining of her quote-unquote nervous breakdown is that she demanded to have a French doctor, and her doctor that came from France refused to do bloodletting.
Oh.
Which is what all the doctors in Stockholm wanted her.
Let's put leeches on you.
Let's let these snakes bite on you for a little bit. Here's some leeches, and
You're
gonna
gonna
let
feel
the
great.
blood. You're gonna feel great. And luckily, this French doctor that she called for was like, no, we're not doing any of that. Thank God.
Yeah, like he prescribes sleep, rest, water, healthy meals, and warm baths. This guy was on to something.
He was on to something. Though I think all of us should have those things.
Yeah, exactly. My doctor's like, oh, wait, he's still right.
Yeah.
Also, no idea if this is related or just speculating.
This might just be me, like, rabbit-holing a little bit.
3 years prior, Charles I of England had been executed.
Executed.
Yeah, that's executed in the nasty. And Charles was super sympathetic to Catholics in a Protestant country. Yeah. So, yeah.
I have to wonder if her mind's wandering to, oh shit, my heart maybe lies with this different religion.
are they going to kill me?
Historically speaking, they have.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a leap. And yeah, that only happened 3 years ago, so.
Yeah, so in 1654, Christina was like, well, this shit is bad for my health. All this drama.
Mentally, physically, I'm not having a good time.
Yeah, Sweden, it's not you, it's me.
But I think we need to break up, and she announces her decision to abdicate. I think that's a good place to take a quick little break.
Yes.
And we'll be right back with the rest of her story. Hey Queens, it's Katie. Are you tired of hormone-related struggles messing up your day? Meet Hormone Harmony. Whether it's mood swings, bloating, or just kind of feeling off, Hormone Harmony has you covered. Okay, but what is it? Hormone Harmony is a formula developed by Happy Mammoth, a supplement company dedicated to making women's lives easier. Hormone Harmony contains science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. Now, here's the beauty about adaptogens. They help the body adapt to any stressors, like chaotic hormonal changes that happen naturally throughout a woman's life. Picture waking up rejuvenated, breezing through your day without energy slumps, and waving goodbye to pesky PMS symptoms. Happy Mammoth has so many really cool products. I've actually just placed an order for a bottle of their deep sleep mode, so I'll let you know how that works later. So, want to go on this journey with me? For a limited time, you can get 15% off on your entire order at happymammoth.com with the code QUEENS at checkout. That's happymammoth.com with the code QUEENS. And we're back. So Christina has decided she's had enough of being the Swedish monarch, and she informs her council that, I'm going to abdicate. I don't want to do this anymore. This is not for me.
Yeah, and then Axel's like, gonna regret this shit.
I know, because she will always do the exact opposite of what Axel tells her. She is just like, all right, you know what? Now I'm going to abdicate even harder.
So, real quick.
If
anyone doesn't know abdication means, it means to give up the throne.
Yeah.
And because Xtina has a flair for the dramatic, her abdication was just as flashy as her coronation.
Well, there was no precedence on what to do for an abdication. So when she was like, oh, let's have a ceremony, everyone was just like, yeah, they didn't know what the fuck to do for this.
So on June 6, 1654, Christina publicly abdicated, decked out in her coronation robe and all the other royal regalia.
I kept reading the phrase she was in all her royal regalia, except for the crown and her coronation robes. I couldn't find out what else was part of the regalia.
Dripping in jewels.
Well, you have to imagine it was a whole outfit.
A whole thing.
Yes. And so she gets up on a stage, I guess, or something, in front of the entire council and the court and all the nobility, and members of her council start one by one removing her regalia.
Sounds like a nice little sex party to me. If I'm sitting up in front, remember, it just randomly starts taking off one sock, one glove. It's like a burlesque thing, except the audience is doing it to you.
And you don't actually get naked, you just lose titles.
Damn, no, I just got my title.
Okay, we're not gonna do this. So yeah, they're one by one moving pieces of her regalia. But when it came to her crown, the count who was supposed to remove her crown wouldn't do it. I really couldn't find out if he wouldn't do it because he opposed the whole thing, or if he couldn't do it because he got emotional.
Oh.
So
I mean, that makes sense. But eventually what she ended up doing was being like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Do it myself.
She did, which is great symbolism because at the end of the day, when you abdicate the throne, you have to give up the crown.
Yeah.
So she physically needs to give up the crown.
So she both physically and emotionally and symbolically gave up the crown.
Yeah, and then she's left after everybody takes off ye old dusty clothes. And she's in a white taffeta dress.
I don't know why it was funny to me that we know that it was taffeta. I don't know why that just made me giggle. Because when I think taffeta, I think 80s prom dress.
I know, right?
Yeah. So she's in her taffeta and she gives a farewell speech. And I did read that her voice trembled and that it was short. I couldn't find like a transcript or anything, but it seems like she kept it short. And then she was like, y'all got this, and then pieced the fuck out.
So let's do a quick recap on her reign.
Right.
So 22 years in total, but really only 5 years actually running the show.
Right. And in those 5 years, she felt the pressure to marry, scared to embrace the religion she actually felt in her heart.
Yeah, and her university failed. Like, people didn't really want any of those goals that she had set out.
Ahead of her time. Because, like you said, like they've got like this rockin' university now, right?
Rockin' University.
Yes.
Yes, and all the while, she's still trying to achieve her goals. Like, she'd been working 12 hours a day for 10 years. Like, since the age of 18.
She's burnt the fuck out.
I would be too.
I'm burnt out thinking about it. That
Yeah.
sounds exhausting.
I work 8 hours and I need a glass of wine in my bed.
And not 7 days a week, just 5 days a week.
No. So she's 28, and for the first time in her life, she's a private citizen. I've always wondered how that would feel as being like somebody of like nobility going to like the opposite. Because we always see movies about people being peasants becoming royalty.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is so
But
great.
the other way around.
I bet it's just as great though.
Well, yeah,
They want
probably.
it. They want if they want it.
Because when you think about, you know, when she was queen, her health is public knowledge. So, like,
Her
if
uterus is
her
on
uterus,
display.
everybody can just openly talk about her uterus. And now, yeah, that must be nice to kind of be like, okay, y'all can get to know anything about my OBGYN visit, you know?
Oh, that would be great. You did not know anything about my pap smear.
As part of her abdication, her cousin, the new king, gives her a pension. So as part of her abdication, her cousin, the king, gives her a pension.
Can I have a pension? I'm a lord.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Lord
That's
Lingo.
that's gonna be my. Can I have a pension, please?
I don't know what's right. Dear Scotland. But so, okay, she's abdicating, and so she's gonna retire and lead this really quiet life, right, Nathan?
Nope.
Because when has quiet ever been anything we would say about this
Right.
woman?
We do not associate with quiet.
No.
It's unclear if she couldn't live in Sweden anymore or if she just didn't want to. But either way, she decides that she was going to live in Holland.
Yep. And that means that she had to travel through Denmark. And there's something rotten in Denmark, and it's your piss poor attitude. Do you remember that from Sappy Gay Friend? It just popped in my head. Anyway, Sweden and Denmark had been on bad terms since
Forever.
And so even though she had abdicated, she still didn't want to start any shit. And Denmark didn't want to like maybe get held hostage or something. So she disguises herself as a man for the journey.
Not just disguises herself. Like she puts on the clothes and is like, oh, wait,
Oh, I like this.
I kind of like
I like that.
living her trans realness fantasy.
She's like, I love this look for me. And so even after she arrived in Holland and she was safe for the rest of her life, she dresses in men's clothing. I'll probably put it on Instagram that I found a portrait. It's on her Wikipedia page, so I didn't dig for it. But like, I found a portrait of her supposed to be like in her 50s, still wearing like men's clothes.
Bitch.
Good for her.
I love this.
If you find something that's gonna make your life is uncomfortable. If you find something that's gonna make your life more comfortable,
Do it.
do it. Yeah.
So she settles down in Antwerp, and he's like, y'all, the queen has arrived.
Has arrived.
And as soon as she settles in, she starts hosting parties, going to the theater, attending salons, partying hard.
Can you blame her? You go, Blancoco.
Yes, Lord Blanco.
Lord Glen Coco.
I'm not going to let this down. I love my birthday
Well,
present.
I thought you might.
So, it was also at this time that she officially converted to Roman Catholicism. And she kept that shit quiet because that's some drama. She's nervous that Sweden would be like, we're not paying your pension.
Yeah, we're taking your pension back now that you are Catholic. But who did word get back to, Nathan?
I did.
Papa hears that she's converted, and he's like, oh, honey. So Pope Alexander VII reaches out. He sends an email or a text. It's unclear. Or a carrier pigeon. I'm not sure.
I think it's a text.
Probably a text. And he's like, hey, I hear you've converted, but you're afraid that Sweden's going to cut you off if they find out you're Catholic. Fun story about how I got more money than anybody in the world. I know.
Still do.
Still do. Yeah. And don't pay taxes. It's bad. And I've got way, way, way more money than Sweden. So come to Rome, be a public Catholic, and you'll be on my dime.
Yes, please, said Christina.
Yes.
Probably.
Most definitely. It's just like, I'll be right there.
So Christina enters Rome. Not quite as flashy as her coronation, but still quite flashy because she has the adoring crowd. Like everybody.
Oh my God. She is this, in their eyes, she is this ruler who gave up everything just to become Catholic. And so for them, they're very much like, na 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 na, Protestants can suck it, like, yeah.
She's an absolute hit at this point.
Mm-hmm.
She's living her best life, giving me like partying hard vibes going on every
she's
night.
keeping that party going and going. But now it's on the Pope's dime, and the Pope has more money than anybody, as we've already discussed. And he gives her her own wing in the Vatican. And
Okay.
That one thing that it made me think of, she's still dressing like a man. We haven't covered Joan of Arc before, but we will one day. But unless I'm mistaken, one of the reasons that the Catholic Church charged Joan of Arc with heresy is because she dressed like a man, and it was apparently against the Bible. So I'm just imagining Joan of Arc's ghost there in the Vatican being like, and this bitch gets a wing?
It's so true. Oh, no. Anyway, Christina was all anyone in Rome could talk about for months. The next months of her years were endless fucking parties.
It was balls, jousts, gifts, party,
and that
clubs, another club, no sleep, party, plane.
Wow. No, I just like.
You know the Lady Gaga quote on song where she's like, club, another club, no sleep, plane, and so that's just what I'm thinking.
I just heard balls, jowls, gifts, and I was like, oh, this is the gay man's fantasy.
Oh, a woman's fantasy too.
Yes, yes, balls, jowls,
different kind of balls though. Yeah.
So it's possible at this point that she fell in love with a man. So yay for her.
And she just loves the person, not the gender.
Pansexual,
Yeah.
right? That's what it is. So there was this cardinal that she was so close to, a guy named Azzolino.
Yeah, Cardinal Azzolino is my best guess. That's how I say that. Yeah. And the two of them are very, very close. And so the gossip was just raging all around that they were lovers. In fact, the Pope told the Cardinal, official orders, you got to spend less time with the former queen. Ooh. Some pretty intense letters, not between the two exist. His don't exist anymore, but hers exist. Mm-hmm. There's one where she writes, I will live as your slave until I die.
Okay, I don't like the S word in there.
Well, no, I don't think it meant
I know what she means.
Yeah.
I know what she means.
Obviously, she was not enslaved, but
yeah.
It just shows that, we talked before about how maybe you could interpret her and Ebba's letters as that's just how women spoke to each other. Mm-hmm. That was not usually how men and women wrote letters between each other. their whole like their situation, like it's just really interesting to me. But yeah, in my opinion, I think that if they weren't banging, it was just because he was a cardinal and they were like they were like emotionally banging. They were emotionally banging.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
So Christina's charm at this point wears off on the Pope. He's pretty sick of her. He's like, I'm the Pope, a blah.
Christina of Sweden, but
So having her there was hugely symbolic win in the eyes of Europe. She's a shit starter.
She's a gossip. She partied too hard. She maybe seduced cardinals.
Yeah, right. Might be problematic. Oh, and she would make jokes in church about how all the silly Catholic rituals were. Like, no, girl.
So, bitch, you just changed your entire life to do these silly rituals.
Yeah, now why are you trying to badmouth it? What?
It makes me think her conversion was less about like her actual beliefs and more about like doing what she was told she didn't want to do. Or maybe it was a scapegoat. Maybe she just really didn't want to be queen because so many people had their noses up in her uterus. And so maybe she used Catholicism as an escape.
Very painful to have a nose up in my uterus.
I don't think you could ever actually. I don't think that's how it works. Pope Alexander called her a queen without a realm, a Christian without faith, and a woman without shame. And honestly, I love it. So no, it's giving me just like, he didn't mean for it to sound so badass, but
but Christina is looking around the room. She's reading it. She can look for anything else she could. And then she notices that a country needs a queen. Yeah. And that country happens to be Naples.
Yes. And here's what you need to know about Naples. Because like if right now you're like, I thought that was a city. Now you are correct. But back then it was like its own nation. But for, I don't know, I didn't look up the exact number, but a couple 100 years, France and Spain were always fighting over who was going to rule Naples.
Because Naples was a Catholic nation.
Yes, it was Catholic. And those are like the two of the big Catholic players. France and Spain were just always fighting over who's going to rule it.
So Christina heads to France to talk to the king. Well, I mean, not officially the king, but the king's mother, because King Louis XIV.
Little baby Sean King.
Yeah, it's your baby
Sean King.
Its mom Anne was the one that she was there to talk about how she could help France claim Naples.
The Dowager Queen of France was basically the one running the show for new baby Sean King. Her plan made no sense. Christina is what I like to call a chaos goblin.
Chaos goblin.
I call my niece a chaos goblin a lot because she's 5. I'm sure I stole it from somebody.
It's fine.
But I call my niece a chaos goblin all the time because she's 5 and she just loves getting into shit. And it just gives me very Christina of Sweden. She is happiest when she's starting shit. Talk about starting shit. When she arrives in Paris, everybody had an opinion about her.
Yeah, she scandalized half of the people because she wore pants.
Acted more like a man than a woman.
Yeah, so...
But then the other half of the population loved her because she wore pants and acted more like a man than... Like,
Vive la France.
Yes. That's very French. French kind of just being like, ew, she's wearing pants. And the other room being like, oh.
She's wearing pants. So she's talking to Queen Anne and is like, hey, take Naples and put me as queen, and then I'll appoint some French dudes as my heir. And then the French were like, this honestly makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
But we really like you.
You're fun.
They basically told her, yeah, you're fun. We'll think about it. And they set her up in a mansion and let her stay there a while. So, I mean...
She was popular. She was like a good, like, roaming attraction almost. And
I could just see her at French court, like, eating a baguette, like, nomming on some cheese, being like, oh, yeah, tell me more.
Tell me more. People liked her. She liked to party. And everyone at the French court was really fine with her being there until they weren't. And it was night and day. It happened like that. She went from being a welcome guest until she was immediately not. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Hey y'all, spooky season is here. And if you're looking for a show to whet your appetite for a little haunted history, then I'd like to invite you to check out Southern Gothic, a chart-topping history podcast that explores some of the most infamous legends, folklore, ghost stories, and hauntings of the American South. We've covered all sorts of stuff from the Bell Witch of Tennessee to the disappearance of the Confederate submarine, the H.L. Hunley. Not to mention our deep dives into the local lore of some of America's oldest and most haunted cities, like New Orleans, Charleston, and St. Augustine. So, if you're ready for a little good old-fashioned Halloween storytelling with a commitment to quality historical research, then be sure to check out Southern Gothic today. It's available now on all your favorite podcast apps.
Yeah, so what we're going to discuss was a very bad move for Christina.
Yeah.
So there's this dude that was in her service while in France named Guillaume Monadeschi.
Yes, Monadeschi.
I nailed this shit.
So this Gian guy, he was from a really high-ranking noble family in Italy. He'd been working for Christina for about 2 years, and she did consider him part of like her inner circle, and she trusted him.
Yeah, but while in France, she finds out that he has been sending copies of all of her letters back to the Pope.
And Christina got big mad.
I would be big mad too.
Yeah, do you blame her? No.
Yeah, you don't steal my shit and give it to other people.
What happens next, I'm sorry, like, as I was reading it, I was like, this should have been a scene in Game of Thrones. So,
George R.R. Martin, if you're
listening, if you ever want to finally finish your fucking books, here's something to draw from.
The shade.
Yeah. So she invites Monadeschi back, like, to her room, and she's like, hey, I got a question for you. And he's like, shoot, I'm here. And she's like, okay, so let's say someone has been going behind my back. Someone I've trusted has been going behind my back, and they've been deceiving me.
Ooh.
What should I do?
Oh.
And dude was like, well, death is the only acceptable punishment of betrayal.
Meanwhile, his butthole is clenched.
He is
like his foot clenched.
And his inner dialogue is just fuck, 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 fuck.
And then Christina was like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Right.
And then told her guards to go get him.
Right.
And this poor dude
Oh my god.
ran from room to room while her guards were chasing at him and trying to stab him.
Oh, and he was wearing chainmail, and so they did get him a couple of times, but it didn't do anything because of the chainmail. So it's just like prolonged this. Like, I know it's human nature to run from people chasing you with knives, but like you're gonna die. You're gonna die. Like, oh god, it stresses me out.
So they got him.
They got him.
And they executed him.
Mm-hmm.
And it said Christina was really cold about it and was just like, go take him away.
Take him away.
Get him out of here.
It's giving me Cersei, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It surprised me that she was so cold about it. Because like I said, he had been like one of her inner circle for 2 years. So that it just surprised me.
Though Christina was legally allowed to do this since she outranked him.
And he was in her service.
It was not a popular move.
Like, it was allowed, but like it wasn't done. You know what I mean? Like,
can you say it like that?
It wasn't done.
So, the French at this point are like, what in the actual French fuck
yes.
is this? And you need to leave. You're done, bitch.
You're done. There was absolutely no more talk about her becoming Queen of Naples, France helping her out in any way, shape, or form. The Monadeschi family back in Rome, like, they weren't like top of the rank, but they were close. They had a lot of friends at the top. They had enough clout to drag her name so that whenever she came back, it was like she was a social pariah. Again, this was all legal, so they couldn't bring legal action against Christina, but they could make no one want to hang out with her.
Well, I mean, the court of public opinion, right?
Exactly.
Like, so you may have not done something illegal, but I can make you suffer in the court of public opinion.
And I think that was that probably really hurt Christina because I think she loved everybody loving her. You know what I mean?
She's like Roxy from Chicago.
Yes.
So her
'Cause
international
she
reputation.
didn't get enough love in her childhood, and that's queen biz, kid.
So her international reputation is garbage.
Garbage.
That's French for garbage.
Yes.
And the Pope called her a woman born of a barbarian, barbarously brought up and living with barbarous thoughts. That's a tongue twister.
Tell us how you really feel,
A
Poopy.
woman born a barbarian, barbarously barbarian.
Yeah. So Christina did lay low after a while. After this, she was just like, I'm gonna just chill. Given all her faults, from everything that we've said previously about her, I didn't think she had self-awareness.
No.
But now this is making me realize, oh, she did. She had some self-awareness and she laid low.
Yeah, she wasn't feeling like anyone loved her anymore, so she kind of didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Rome and lives in a palace there with, maybe her lover, Cardinal.
Azzolino. I don't think they lived together, but I think he secured it for her because obviously she couldn't go back living in her wing in the Vatican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's like quiet for about approximately a year.
Yeah. And then her cousin Carl, King of Sweden, he dies.
God damn it, Carl.
Yep. So Christina hightails it back to Sweden. And she's like, oh, look, I let me be queen again.
Wait, what?
Chaos Goblin.
Chaos Goblisha.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
So Carl's only kid was only 5 when he died. And so she rocks up and she's like, look, hashtag babies don't need jobs. So let me step back in and I'll just take up where I left off. I'll be queen. Carl's son will be my heir.
And then the country's like, oh, baby girl, what is you doing?
Collectively, they all said, no, thank you.
So basically, she was like, I'm going to cause shit until either you let me be queen again or you give me my money back.
Give me my pension back.
Her pension. So they gave her pension back because they're like, oh my God, this girl is drama. Whatever.
You just need to go. Be Catholic, be not Catholic, whatever. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
You can't stay here.
Seat's taken.
So, they literally hand her a check and are like, please go.
Go away. I have to wonder, did she actually, she's a smart woman. Did she actually think in her wildest dreams they were going to let her be queen again?
Or was this a way for her to get her welfare check?
Right?
Like, is this a way for her to get her
I didn't even
pension?
think of it as a welfare check.
Well, I mean,
because she served.
Yeah,
That kind
but
of like her childhood was fucked up for Sweden. So give me some money, Sweden. You got the money, give me the money. So I actually, and this is just me, and I'm not a scholar. I'm just an idiot with the internet and lots of opinions. And
That's how you start a podcast, guys.
I'm just an idiot with the internet and lots of opinions. I personally think that it was just a ploy for money because she knew they were never going to let her be queen again.
Yeah, she needs a little extra check.
Well, because
A little extra zero.
The Pope might cut her off at any moment.
Yeah,
'cause
she's been living this lavish lifestyle for a hot minute. So I honestly think I agree with you.
Yeah. Sad side note.
Oh no.
She tried to see her old girlfriend Ebba while she was in town, and Ebba's family, her marriage turned out to be really sad. Her and her husband hated each other, and he kept her from seeing Christina.
Oh, that's sad. That sounds like there was a little bit of a lesbian love story. Maybe it was not. Well, it may not be lesbian because, Christina may be trans. So maybe it's just a love story.
Just a love story.
Just a love story.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that kind of sucks that she didn't get to see Ebba while she was
I
in town.
know.
Yeah.
And in 1662, at 36, Christina headed back to Rome.
Yeah.
Though the rest of her life is tame by comparison to the first half, which was Party City.
It's still pretty cool, and it's still pretty pretty party city, honestly. Like,
Yeah, she's an outcast in Roman society, so she leans into it. And I love this. Like, she opened the first public theater in Rome.
not the first one. I think
wait.
it was
The first in, like, decades. So she ends up inviting women to act.
but their uteruses
They
will
can't
just,
memorize lines.
it'll be too much stress and it'll make their uteruses just go up to their lungs and kill them, Nathan.
I mean, how can you memorize anything if you have a uterus?
How? So there was a new pope in town. The pope that had initially invited her to Rome had died, and this guy was named Innocent the 11th.
Some of the times I'm like, you're not that innocent.
You're not that innocent. So anyway, the theaters, the pope said nope.
Oh.
The pope said nope. And he basically banned women. They could still be in plays, but they couldn't have speaking roles.
Because your uterus can't memorize lines.
Because your uterus... Fun fact about the uterus, sense memory. Like anything, memorizing lines, a gown. Eventually, Innocent the 11th just shut down her theater altogether. He did this really backhanded thing where he was like, oh, sorry, there's an old lease that this is where we're going to store all our grains. And just one day in the middle of some production started moving thousands of pounds of rice into the theater until there was just kicked them the fuck out. Yeah.
Seriously, just tell me to leave. But at this point, Christina's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And she turned part of her house into a theater where women could continue to have leading roles.
Love this. I'm sure she was like, you know what we're going to do? I don't know this for sure, but I just imagine for her personality being like, we're actually going to do all female shows.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys. So I love this for her.
Yeah, she became the 17th century hipster.
She kind of did.
Yeah, and she was like, if you're an outcast, come to my theater.
Come here.
It's the outcast theater. Let's be outcasts together. Let's listen to music. Let's smoke some weed and collect art and talk about weird books and no one else wants to read.
Let's all read beat poetry and listen.
And snap at each other.
Listen to Vampire Weekend. It was a whole scene.
Yeah, Sextina.
We're gonna read some Ginsberg, some Kerouac. They were the outliers, kind of.
Yeah.
And she kind of thrived in it.
And here's the cool thing that we don't see often.
Oh my God.
She was pro, let's be nice to Jewish people.
So refreshing.
Oh my God.
We've talked about it so many times on this show, and I think Catherine the Great is a really good example where it's I wanted to love her unconditionally until I read about the Pale of Settlement. And that happened so many times, Isabel of Bavaria. Also, I'm like, she's not that bad until I read about the expulsion of the Jews. And
why are you so racist?
And so I've kind of had this running theme since we started this podcast. Don't fall in love with any historical figure until you learn about how they treated the Jewish population in their countries. Oh. So the fact that she was let's be nice to them, I'm like, you never see it. It's so refreshing.
Refreshing or just human?
Well, I mean, it should be just human, but at the time, it wasn't, sadly.
I know.
So,
sadly, at the time, there was this horrible tradition of chasing Jewish people through the streets during the pre-Lent carnivals. This is terrible.
It is horrible. I did go down a bit of a rabbit hole about this, and I have not written down most of the things that I read in the rabbit hole because it's a bummer. Since as early as the 1400s, there had been this humiliation of the Jewish population in Rome during the carnival before Lent. So basically what us from Southeast Texas, Cajuns, would call this Mardi Gras.
Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday, yeah. On Fat Tuesday, they would have this carnival and they would humiliate Jewish people in one way or another, and it's horrible.
Yeah, there are stories of Jewish men being stripped naked and chased while the Pope sat on a throne and watched and laughed.
Oh, God, it's so gross. But
I love how the Pope is involved in torture.
There were... That's a whole nother rabbit hole. Oh, guys. By Christina's time, they weren't stripping them naked anymore, but still, they're still like chasing them through the streets and embarrassing them. This humiliation of the Jewish people during Ye Olde Mardi Gras wasn't abolished until 1847. So this went on for 400 years. But even after it was abolished, they made the Jewish population pay like a tax.
Systematic racism, yeah.
Like a Mardi Gras tax.
You're gonna have to pay us for not chasing you and trying to kill you.
Anyway, let me dig myself right out of that depressing fucking rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Back to Christina.
Christina, like Katie, hated this shit so much. And Christina every year was like, hey, Bob, can you not?
Can we not, for the love of God?
And she was called a barbarian.
And she's like, you're calling me a barbarian? Look what you're fucking doing. Are you fucking...
Right.
And you know what? There's a lot of times where I think Christina is just a chaos goblin causing trouble where there maybe didn't need to be trouble, but on this one thing...
Yeah. She makes a public announcement that Jews in Rome were under her protection.
She's like, come to me. Because she knows. Like, even though she doesn't have the standing that she used to, she still has a protected status. No one's going to break into her palace to torture these people. So she's like, if you can make it in my house during the old Mardi Gras, come to my house. I'm going to protect y'all. Which...
Hey, that's fun.
I love that.
So she continued to scandalize the population by acting like a normal person. She was known to walk the streets on her own. Normal. Talk to shop owners. Normal. Grab a beer with some dudes. Normal.
Yeah.
And then given that she was once a queen, people thought that, oh my God, this is crazy.
They're crazy. You can't be talking to peasants. And she's like, watch me. Like,
watch me whip. Watch me nay.
Watch me have a beer with some regular guy. Yeah. And this is how she lived the next 2.5 decades of her life, just kind of giving the middle finger to society, collecting art. She has a huge art collection that survived, which one thing that made me kind of sad in her huge art collection that survived was a portrait of Ebba.
Oh no.
So she kept it for her whole life.
Aww.
Yeah. And so she just hipster queen up in here. Like, I love it.
I love this. And then in 1689, she got sick and developed pneumonia.
Yeah.
She knew the end was near at this point and basically sent the Pope a nota and and was like, hey, I know it was a bit of a pain in the ass, but can we be friends, y'all?
Can we be on good terms? It seems like the Pope accepted this olive branch.
As one should.
Yes.
If you're the Pope.
Yes.
Forgive.
Right. Wasn't Jesus like, he had a whole thing about that, right?
Yeah. Good job, Katie.
Okay. Religious scholar over here.
So she passed away on April 19th, 1689 at the age of 62.
Right.
She requested a simple funeral, but the Pope said no.
But the funeral they threw for this woman was so over the top, which is surprising to me for, like, in her later years, how much a huge pain in the ass she had been to Rome. But still, she represented a Lutheran ruler who converted. So it was still a whole thing. Ignore that she was a pain in the ass. She still chose Catholicism in the end.
She was like a staple of Roman society at that point.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Everybody in the club getting tipsy with Christina.
Exactly.
So she was given the funeral of a pope.
Basically, she had all these honors, and she was buried in the Vatican graveyard where popes are buried.
Which was like the opposite of that dude that she buried.
Descartes, yeah.
Whoops.
Whoopsie. She is only, to this day, only one of 3 women buried in that graveyard.
So that is the absolutely wild life of Christina of Sweden, gender bending, chaos goblin, hipster queen, quoted by Katie, all of those.
Let's raise a glass. Oh my gosh. This was such a fun episode. Cheers, bitches.
Cheers.
All right, Lord Nathan. Ooh.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, if you want to hear something, just email us at queenshistorypodcast@gmail.com.
And follow us on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
We have a really great Facebook discussion group. We'd love to see you over there too.
And if you're so inclined, we do have a Patreon account if you need more Queens content in your life.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Bitch.
Cheers, bitches.
Hello everyone, Stakuyi here.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are the hosts of History of Everything, a podcast which you can probably guess by the name is, well, it's about everything. Do you want to know why people thought potatoes were evil and would give you syphilis? Are you curious about all the stories of the terrible and stupid ways that people have kicked the bucket over the years? Do you want to hear tales about all of the different badasses of history and the lives that they had brought to life? Well, if so, then look no further. History of Everything is just the right podcast for you. It's available on Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else that you get your podcast from. Join us for some fun and just see how weird and wacky history can be.